Years that I've been in education, my passion and my life's work is really about creating environments where kids are engaged and curious and excited and eager to learn new things. And not only did I see that like to this gold level, this gold standard level the past 2 days, I feel like as I'm aging that I'm feeling more comfortable that the world is going to be in good hands, in very good hands, because we have the kinds of thinking, the kinds of skills, the kinds of creativity that are going to help solve the problems that my generation has created. And so, as I said, that my life's work and my passion and the system that I'm crazy about is education, and more particularly schools and classrooms. Schools being kind of the environment for learning, not necessarily teaching, because I learn far more from my students than I would ever learn by teaching. But where I got to this work with systems thinking and system dynamics is kind of a funny story. About 22 years ago, I was a middle school principal. So think back about your middle school principal. Didn't you always love your middle school principal? Huh? Yes? No? No. So, and in taking on that leadership role, we had a really unique school. It was a traditional public school, but we had a really unique vision for our school in that we wanted to create a place that was a system so that if any one part of that system was ever missing, that it wouldn't behave the same way. So if a child was absent, if a teacher was absent, if something was askew, the system would behave differently. And so in having that idea that the absolute value of each and every person was equal to the absolute value of each and every person, it was a system that was free, where mistakes were encouraged as learning opportunities, where kids were missed when they weren't there, teachers were missed when they weren't there. And we wanted to create a place where after you left, you kind of talked about it as a real pleasant experience, which in middle school it's not necessarily always that way. So, so I'm curious about the systems that you're really passionate about. I mean, you've heard my passions. When I was a middle school principal a long time ago, the way this work got started is a gentleman who lived in our community who had retired and moved to Tucson, Arizona, which is a place where a lot of people go to retire because of the weather. He was the former dean of the College of Engineering of MIT. So he walked on our campus and said, you know, there are things that we teach our graduate students in the College of Engineering at MIT that I think would be really interesting for your science teachers. And so we were open, tell me more. He became, long story short, our citizen champion, where he actually helped us learn and incorporate concepts and tools of systems thinking and system dynamics. System dynamics is kind of the computer modeling component of systems thinking tools. It takes the tools and kind of uses a variety of different kinds of software programs that help you model and simulate systems of interest. And it kind of spread throughout the school, not just in science. Kids were building computer models of Hamlet. They were looking at the concept of history and war and some of the systems that were involved in that, and understood that, gosh, what happened in Vietnam could actually reoccur, you know, years and years later, as kind of like what we're experiencing in Afghanistan. What were the similarities? So, so Gordon was kind of our citizen champion, and from that school, it kind of was this escalating interest by word of mouth, to the point that I left the school so that I could spend full time with the Waters Foundation, because they supported our work at this one little school. And about $12 million later, 22 years later, it is now, we have demonstration sites all over the US and in many, many different countries. So today, we're going to kind of construct our understanding of systems thinking, not through definitions or PowerPoint slides, but we're going to kind of experience some kind of interactions, some activities. The cards are going to be one thing we're going to use so that you can kind of construct your own meaning so it can be personal for you. Does that sound okay? Okay. So So it's really not about me, it's really about you, because the wisdom is in the room. So we're going to tap into that wisdom and kind of work at gathering it and sharing it and really walking away, a little wiser because of one another. So let's think about the systems that we're really passionate about. What systems do you really care about? We've heard some of the presentations and some of the topics and problems that students are conquering, and I want to hear from the adults too. I mean, we've got coaches and teachers and parents and, all different ages here. So generationally, what are some systems you really care about? Yeah.
Can you just define what you mean by?
Okay, so that's a really good question, because when you think of a system, what kind of pops into your head? I'm going to throw it kind of back to you.
Probably a set of processes, or say a set of
Okay.
ways of doing things.
A set of processes. What are some common systems that are out there that even have the word system in it?
Computer
Computer systems,
systems,
school system, solar systems, banking systems. Yeah. So to help kind of clarify that, a system is kind of a collection of parts that have relationships with one another, that function as a whole, that actually through those relationships between the parts causes the behavior of how that system operates. So a family could be a system. Okay? A circle of friends could be a system. This conference, this institute is a system. And when you look at the relationship between the parts of this institute, things have changed over time in the past 3 days. So the behaviors are changing. The relationships are being formed between people, and do you feel like there's a different kind of energy in the room? And so that could be considered a system. Ecological systems, environmental systems.
Tracy, what's the difference between a system and an ecosystem?
An ecosystem would be one, I'd say it's one and the same. A system is kind of a broader term that an ecosystem could definitely be a part.
But an ecosystem is a system?
Oh yeah, very
Is
much.
a system an ecosystem?
Yes,
They're interchangeable.
they're interchangeable, yeah. So what are some systems you care about? What do you care about?
Educational system.
Okay, you care about your educational system. Okay. What else? What do you care about?
teaching systems.
The teaching system. Okay. Social system. Family system.
Like a team system?
Pardon me?
Like a team system?
Like a team system. Kind of like it could be a team, a work team, an athletic team, a team that's actually working together towards a goal. You bet. So let's take a model of a system. And Dr. Jay Forrester is considered the father of system dynamics, uses this quote often, that all models of systems are wrong, but some are useful. In other words, the representation that we create of systems has flaws based on there's nothing necessarily possible physically or in drawing it that can represent reality. Because reality is just too hard for the human mind to conceptualize. But they can be useful. So we're going to use this toy. I love using toys. This toy we're going to consider a system. It has parts. It has connections between the parts. And we can actually cause some dynamics, some movement that generate certain behaviors. So let's say in a perfect world, my goal for this system is to keep it at an open space at all times. Okay, at an open space at all times. So no matter what I do with it, it will stay open. So that's the challenge. So I want you to turn to the person next to you, knowing that you have unlimited makeup materials. What would you do to help achieve that desired outcome of keeping it open at all times? You want to check it out? Want to check it out? Okay. Go ahead. Talk to a person next to you. Or behind you, or whatever. You got like 1 minute, and then I'm going to collect ideas.
That's the easiest. Or you can create it. If we put it in space, does it
Okay, 5 and 4. Gradually close the conversations and let's collect the ideas. What's your ideas? What was your idea over here?
Fill it with foam or like put a spoke in the middle.
Like fill it with foam or
Like put a spoke in the middle.
put a spoke in the middle. Cool. What other ideas? A balloon. Put a balloon inside. Kind of keep it open. What other ideas? Was that your idea? Oh, rats. Good minds think alike, though, right? What?
Release it into space.
To put it into space.
Yeah.
Okay, zero or microgravity. Or zero gravity, okay. Just hold it. Just hold it so that the movement, the human that holds it would have to move along with the object if it was going to move. So that would be a hard 24/7 kind of mission control job, right? Yeah. Now these guys, look at this right here. Look what we're seeing right here. There's some minds at work. What are you coming up with?
Like if you put a rubber band around this, then you'll be able to stay like that.
Wait, can you say that a little louder?
If you put like a rubber band around here, then it'll be able to stay.
Okay, so let's try that. So we were doing this kind of challenge with a group of teachers one summer, and there was a 10-year-old girl that was the daughter of one of the teachers, and she took this little thing out of her hair, right? And she said, you know, Mom, we could use this, because the balloon ideas and all that, which are great ideas. But the definition of leverage, meaning the action that you can take in order to get your desired outcomes, is to look at what is the smallest, most efficient thing I can do to get my desired results. So I'm going to try your idea. As a matter of fact, do you want to try it? Okay. So this is like one of those little burritos. So, okay, can you come on up here and throw it for me and test? Let's test his experiment. Go ahead and just... Yeah, all right. Cool. Excellent. We just kind of throw it up and test the experiment. So by looking at the structure of the system, we were able to say what is the small thing. It doesn't mean those other ideas wouldn't work, but it would really change aesthetically the view of it. This is almost invisible. And so keep that in mind about the concept of leverage. Now I want to show you another system. This was the smallest slinky I could find because it fit in my suitcase. I usually use a bigger one, so it's going to be a little harder to see. So I want you to observe the behavior of this system. And I want you to just observe it and figure out what is causing the behavior of this system. Okay, ready? Can everybody see? It's a beautiful little oscillation. Okay, I'm going to try it again. Ready? Okay, so what's causing the behavior? What caused the behavior of that system? Ideas. There are no wrong answers. Gravity, okay, certainly gravity. Energy. What else?
The spring wanting to stay in a solid form.
The spring wanting to stay in a solid form, is that what you said?
Compressed form.
Okay.
The very nature of it.
The very nature of it. The very nature of it. What else?
Pulling your hand out from under.
Me pulling my hand out from other, okay? So that's one system. So I'm going to take another system and do the exact same thing, and let's see what happens. Now watch out now. Okay, ready? Ready? Okay. So I have gravity going, and I have my hand going. But the nature of the behavior of the system is based on the structure of the system, the actual structure. So think about, are there any systems that you know about where you can do the exact same thing, but you get completely different results?
With people.
And the teaching system, have you ever, I mean, are you a teacher? I mean, to be able to teach the exact same lesson, but to two groups of students, and you get completely different results, right? Have you ever conducted an experiment, you know, where you do the same exact thing, but you try different components and you get completely different results? Okay, so the structure of the system is the behavior of the system. Cool. So let's get you standing up. And for this exercise, you need a pen, a pencil, or a finger. So stand up.
Finger. Tiffany.
Okay.
The author always has pen.
Everybody stand up. And you're going to need the hand that you're holding, the finger or the pencil or pen, and I think I have one here, is the other hand doesn't have to do anything. So if you have a pen or pencil, it looks like everybody just about has a finger, except pencil or pen. So let's put the writing end pointing up, and I want you to pretend that there's like a piece of pencil lead or ink at the top of your finger. The top of your finger is going to be pointing at the ceiling at all times. So during this exercise, there's going to be a little bit of a bending in the wrist if you're using a finger, okay? I want you to pretend on the ceiling there's a clock about the size of a medium pizza, okay? And I want you to point your finger or the writing end to the 12. And I want you to draw around the outside of the clock clockwise, going 12 to 1 to 2 to 3, and just keep retracing around the outside, around the perimeter. Okay. Keep that pattern going, but slowly lower your hand, always pointing to the ceiling, in front of your face, in front of your neck, chest. Keep bringing it on. You're going to have to bend your wrist a little bit, down in front of your abdomen, look down, and notice what direction it's going. Do, 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 do. Right now. Ah. Okay. So you start clockwise, bring it all the way down, and look down, and notice what direction it's going. Okay, let's sit down and talk about that. Okay. So in this particular activity, did the system change? What changed? Your perspective changed. Exactly. Your perspective changed. So when you're looking up, it's going clockwise. Looking down, most people see it counterclockwise. Did anyone, when you saw it counterclockwise, because this happens often, is that the first voice in your head when you see the counterclockwise is, oh my God, I'm doing it wrong. Did anybody experience that a little bit?
I experienced it even when we started. I was like, I was going clockwise this way, and I saw your hand going down.
Oh.
Then I realized, okay, I'm looking at the clock up there.
Right, up there, yes, yeah. So it's, the perspective is, generates even what you perceive as being clockwise or counterclockwise. And so, again, looking at clockwise versus counterclockwise, have you ever been involved with even the projects that you're doing for the Conrad Foundation or have done for them, or projects that you've done in the workplace, or things that are going on at home, where you're all looking at the same thing, but two different people see it in completely different ways? So what happens when that happens? I saw kind of a laugh. What happens?
You get a different perspective, but you think that your ideas.
Can you speak up just a little bit?
You just think that.
You just think
you're
that?
right.
Mm-hmm.
You don't see it that way.
So you hold on to your way, the way you see it, because you're right, and then in your mind, even though you're a nice person, you might think, oh, but no. And so systems thinkers really appreciate and take a lot of effort to change their perspective, to see it in different ways. Even if they still believe they're right, it's better to see things from multiple ways. So in looking at the projects or the proposals that I heard today and yesterday, as I was listening to them, I would think to myself, so, how would a police officer hear this? How would an owner of a home see this proposal? How would, think about all the different stakeholders or people that are possibly involved, and how would they see it? And how could those perspectives actually inform, the concept of the actual proposal and even some of the details? So how are we doing? Okay, we're good. So let's get out the cards. So we have reviewed several of the cards through some activities that we have done, and yet there are others. I think there's 13. So let me tell you a little bit about these cards. One of the biggest challenges in our work has been the elevator speech of someone saying, so what is systems thinking? Because one definition, it just kind of causes most people's eyes to glaze over. So what we have done is kind of developed what are the types of thinking that are most common within this field. We hired an artist who is a teacher and also one of our systems mentors, and created this set of cards. So even though this set of cards is kind of designed for elementary, middle, high school, these cards are now being used at Georgetown Medical School because they're looking at how can we help med students look at their field as a system rather than just a specialty, to be able to really see that patient-centered care, that community health, piece. And so they've been using, these cards have been translated in multiple languages and all that, and this is my gift to you. So please feel free to take them home and whatever. So this is what I'd like you to do. I'd like you to do a little self-reflection exercise. So if you have, if you're involved with the Conrad Foundation as doing a proposal that was being presented during the past 3 days, 75% of them are done, I know. One day still is left. Think about your work within that proposal. If you are not, think about another system, your workplace, your family, your team, something you really care about. A setting that you really care about that has parts and connections and actually has some behavior that changes over time. And reflect on yourself and pick the one card, and this is a hard task to do, that you think is most important for where you are right now in that work and that you also happen to be pretty good at. So kind of go through and see if you can choose one. Hard task, and if you can't choose one, then make kind of the second one just right underneath. But try to prioritize so that you at least have one. And let's do this pretty quickly. And there are questions on the back that can kind of help you figure out what something means if you're not quite sure. Do you have yours? Have you decided on yours yet? What'd you get? This one? Cool. Did you decide on yours? How are we doing? We're doing okay? Okay, if we can finish that up, and if the decision making is too hard for you, just choose one, knowing that there's a lot more than one that are important. Okay, so you can grab one, and you can either put it on the top of your deck or leave the rest of your deck on your chair. And if you can stand up with your one card. And what we're going to do is kind of do a little aggregation. So you're going to hold your card up and see if you can find people who chose the same card. Okay? And actually physically move in groups. So physically move in groups. It's a good way to meet new friends, okay? Physically go and find someone who has your card. It can be a group. It can be more than one. As a matter of fact, it would be kind of cool to look at everyone so that we could really assess the strengths of the group. I have a big picture over here. We have, the impact of time delays, big picture. Is anybody a Lone Ranger? Me. You're a Lone Ranger. Wait. No, you've got that one. Is anybody, okay, patterns and trends? Anybody else have, okay, so can you guys pair up? Can the three of you just pair up, even though you're different?
No, I like
and celebrate your uniqueness. Okay, here's the task. Here's the task. So, first of all, you need to meet one another, and then see if you can come up with a 45-second story that gives an example of how you put that habit into action in the system that you care about. Okay, so, and do it with a partner first. If you have a group of three, do it pretty quickly in a group of three. Okay, if you have an even number, pair up. Okay? I will raise my hand up high when it's time to stop.
Yeah, it's not delayed.
I don't see this more as my own personal influence on this or whatever. My dad so we have to take into consideration if we have the legal
So is it something that has happened already and how we implemented this?
It can be. You can it can be completely what you can be a story that kind of illustrates that habit for you and why that's important for you in what you're involved with.
Okay.
Okay?
So in that scenario, they're really
Yeah,
I want to hear.
that's a good example.
Okay, did we finish? Are we finished? Raise your hand if you need more time. Okay, so you need a little more time? Okay.
That's a good example. I know I would have never thought of that, but you're right.
Okay, if you're finished, go ahead and back to your seats. If you're still talking, finish up your conversation. You can take that off. Yeah, because when you push it, the stretchiness of it, you can take it off and play with it if you want. Okay, yeah, let's sit down when you're finished. This group is still working. Did anybody not share? Okay. Okay, so go ahead and take your seats. So this is a brightening activity. This is a brightening activity to kind of help bring a particular habit that you feel strong about. There's others where you can actually make piles of this is what I'm really good at, this is what I need to work on. When you're working in a team, just like the teams that have been presenting, you can have each individual do that and say, so who's really good at this? And if we look at the whole, what are we missing and how are we going to help bring that kind of thinking to our work? And so they can be used in lots of different ways. I mean, even to the point where I've seen teachers use them in literature where you say, okay, what habit would really help this character make better decisions? Or what habit did this author really choose to kind of help support the theme in the piece of writing? So it's kind of a neat thing. So keep those cards, and you can put them away and tuck them away. Lots to do with them. And there should be a set of peacock feathers that's nearby and so each person is going to need a feather. Just one. You're each going to need one. And if I've got extras up here. So this is going to be our final exercise. So whenever I check luggage and stuff on planes, the security is always totally stumped about what I bring on airplanes. So we're going to need to stand up for this one. So we're going to need to stand up. So this particular challenge has two parts, trial 1 and trial 2. And it's going to be really important in order to experience it that you follow the directions explicitly. And we know how much you guys as innovators really follow the rules, right? Nah, I never follow the rules. So on your dominant hand, your index finger, I want you to put the tip, the very sharp point of the peacock feather. So this first trial is you're going to focus on the point of contact and nowhere else. Nowhere else. The point. So I want everybody looking at their index finger right now, and nowhere else. And what you're going to do is let go and count in seconds. Just self-count how many seconds you can balance, and try it over and over again. However, your focus must be at the finger. Okay, ready? Go. Must be at the finger. Must be at the finger. I want all eyes down, all eyes down, all eyes down. Okay, trial 2. This is quick. Trial 2. This time, you are not allowed to look at your finger at all. You must look only at the beautiful eye of the peacock feather and do the same task. How long can you balance? See if you can even glance as you're doing this at what other people are doing in the room. See the big picture. Yeah. Okay, so let's sit down and talk about this. Look at you. Very good. So, trial 1 versus trial 2, which was better for you? Which did you get better results? Trial 2. Okay, so you guys are all scientists, so let's figure out why. Explain to me why trial 2 was better for you.
Because you have a perspective of the entire peacock feather, and you can kind of gauge the size and balance it just by looking at it.
Okay, so that's a way to explain it. Is there another way to explain it?
The big picture.
The big picture? Yes, we see the big picture.
We could look at the entire thing and see where it was leaning and fix it as we're holding it.
And you could see where it was leading and?
Where it was leaning and fix it if it was going too far.
Okay, so why was that different than this one right here?
Because when we were looking here, we didn't have the chance to see where it was going before it was too late to fix it.
Yeah, you had minimal, you didn't have very much visual data to be able to tell what was happening up there, right? Any other ways to explain that?
It's a physical phenomenon of your whole system, the center of equilibrium and things like that helps you kind of balance.
Okay, so there's a concept in systems thinking called goal and gap. And I've heard those words used oftentimes in the presentations the past 2 days where I've been here. And so if the goal is to have the feather perpendicular to the floor, just like that, okay? And if it is out of position, the distance between the goal and the current state is the gap, right? So that's a gap. So what happens is when you have gaps, it's trying to figure out what strategies can I do to be able to minimize that gap to generate the desired outcome. So am I in a better position looking here or looking here to be able to identify the gap and make adjustments? Right? I'm up here, right? So seeing the big picture and being able to even see the angles that are that's being generated. And sometimes I make these adjustments, I don't even know what I'm doing. So the peacock feather in this setting is the symbol or symbolizes that when you have a goal, like all the goals that were expressed today and the past 3 days and tomorrow in some of your projects, that if we focus on the doing, meaning the point of contact, and what are we going to do next? What are we going to do next? What are we going to do next? And that sometimes groups, and I'm going to say especially adult groups that I've worked with, when we lose sight of the goal and concentrate on the doing part, we end up working a lot harder than we need to. So by being able to keep the goal always in your sight, the adjustments that you will make will happen so much more naturally, more efficient, and more effective. Okay, does that make sense? Does that make sense? We have a lot of different, so there's feedback loops in there. You know, the goal and gap is the classic balancing feedback loop, or what sometimes calls a negative loop, that we didn't really have time to address today, but that's part of the work. And so if you're welcome to take these, although, you know, and the airlines will let you take this on, but, you know, so, but as a symbol, I know I have one in my office that I keep just to kind of remind me. And so I really appreciate your time. You're willing to play with me today and to kind of experience systems thinking, you know, it's just a little bit of a tapas approach, you know, just take a little bite here and there. And it was really fun. So if you have any questions, we have like 1 minute, but I'm going to be hanging around for the next fireside chat and the break and so on. Do you have any questions about this? Pardon me? Do I have a while? Oh, I have, okay, because I thought there was another fireside. Oh, okay, so we have time. Okay, so So do you have any, are there any questions about what we did today or about anything else that, yes?
As somebody who, this is my first time ever hearing about this, so how can I learn more about it?
Okay.
How can I even start putting pieces into
Okay, so that's a great question. So, so we have the Waters Foundation has a website that is being revamped. So what is on there right now is really not good. But in about 3 weeks, the new website will go up. But a piece that is good within that, watersfoundation.org, on the front page, the home page, in the center of the page, there's something that's called WebEd. And there are 9 modules that are free that have videos and exercises and where you can learn some of the concepts. Like on the back of your cards, some of the visual tools, the ladder of inference, stock and flow mapping, which is kind of the icons used for system dynamics modeling, feedback loops, the iceberg. Those are tools that, again, are taught in, we're doing them pre-K-12. We have 3-year-olds that are doing feedback loops and such like that. But as far as going to grad school or, it's at MIT, it's very vibrant. Harvard is very vibrant. Stanford is very vibrant in many classes, not just science, but business too. So, so the WebEd modules would be a really good way to just kind of learn a little bit more. And there are some resources. In 3 weeks, our new website will be up, lots of video clips. Another thing that's happening, and in the bags, did anybody get a bag when they came in? No, there wasn't. So, because we had sent some flyers about an event that's an annual event called Camp Snowball. The snowball is the symbol for reinforcing scale-up growth, kind of that exponential. And Camp Snowball, the 3rd year, will happen this summer at Wake Forest University in North Carolina. And Camp Snowball is for teams that come from cities or locations, but it's not just students. It's teams that are made up of young adults, parents, business, government, educators. In other words, you're representing your space and you're coming with a particular issue that you'd like to tackle. And a gentleman that we work with named Peter Senge, I don't know if anybody's heard of him. He's from MIT. He works with us quite often. He'll be there the whole time. Tony Wagner, who spoke the very first day, he was there last year. And so it's a 5-day event that where you're in learning teams. There's lots of interaction. You have, and this year the theme is STEM or STEAM because we're adding art into it. So it's science, technology, engineering, art, and math. www.campsnowball.org will give you all the info, and it's just an amazing event. It's fun for all ages. There's also if you have little brothers and sisters, there's a Camp Sunshine that goes along with it. So I think it's ages 5 or 6 to 11, and they will be immersed in systems thinking in a very hands-on, playful way. And they'll serve as a lab school so that the teachers that go can actually see what lessons look like. So, yeah.
Do you find that some people only fit into one category, or most people multiple categories? I figure that most people would say they'd be under.
You mean the habits of systems thinking?
Under these.
Yeah, as far as the goal is just to be able to practice all of those and know that some are going to be more important depending on what you're doing. I know that I've seen examples of every single one of these during the past 3 days, very clearly stated and clearly illustrated. And so I would suspect that you guys are just natural. You're natural. This just gives a common language and also some intentional questions to ask as you're going through a particular effort to create a desired outcome or to achieve a goal. Okay. Any other questions or anything? No?
These young people here, they're going on to be leaders in whatever industries they enter, and in entering that, they're going to be very young compared to people who've been there for a while. And a lot of times I see intergenerational challenges and just a struggle in, if they get positions of authority, kind of getting other people to accept that and be receptive to that. Is there anything
That's an excellent question. I don't know if you heard back there, but there was a concern. There was like wondering when there's an intergenerational event or gathering that because when people are young, tell me if I'm representing, that sometimes their voices aren't considered as important and are sometimes overshadowed. So that was the concern. So there is a concerted effort right off the bat that it almost gets flipped, that youth voice is more important than adult voice. So last year in Camp Snowball, this is how it ended, because we had, it's a camp, so you end with, you know, the big campfire circle kind of thing like this. Kids were all in the center, adults were on the outside, and the young people had the voice and the final word. And it was the adults' job to listen to the dreams and the hopes and the plans of the young people, and the adults weren't allowed to say anything. And so there's a concerted effort to do that. Nancy is coming, right? Yeah. And we're also, I know in North Carolina there was a team that presented 2 days ago. XCOM, was it? I think. It was the one about ozone. But they're from North Carolina, so they're coming. And if any of y'all want to come, I mean, I would just love to have you there. I mean, it would just be great for you to be there. And a team can be 2. Coming by yourself is kind of a drag, but a team can be as small as 2. So it doesn't have to be. Our biggest team that has come have been 35. But we've had, I know that like Cincinnati, Milwaukee, Tucson, Arizona, we've had teams from Manila, Philippines is having their own Camp Snowball because they brought this huge team. We had Singapore, China, Buenos Aires, Netherlands. So we've had a nice international in the past. Every year is different, but okay, so it'd be fun. I'd love to see you guys. So thank you so much. Pardon me? Yeah, it's campsnowball.org.
I think the booklet's in your gift bags.
In the gift bag, yeah, because I wasn't sure. I didn't see one of the bags, but
I don't know.
But it's campsnowball.org is, you'll find all the information there. Camp Snowball. It is in their bag? Okay. Campsnowball.org. Mm-hmm.
Please join me in thanking Tracy.
No, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, you're so sweet. Thank you.
Of course, sweetie.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you. Okay. Where's my boss? Jen? Carrie? Carrie? Yo. Carrie? Jen? Is it a break now? And